Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Endless Celts Podcast. I thought James was playing a wee bit of hide and seek there, and before we came on air, but he's back again. I'm delighted to be joined alongside by Franny and James. How are you both?
Oh, good, mate. Oh, good.
Not bad, mate.
Decent. Sam Fran is in early on in the comments. He'll nice to have you along. As I said to you last week on Friday, there's a problem streaming to the Twitter platform or X. You need premium at this moment in time, and to be quite honest with you, I'm not paying for premium, so they can shove that up their arses. So YouTube and the audio platforms will have to suffice for the time being, Franny. And in between that time, on Friday, I don't know, when was it, Sunday? Celtic played, or I don't know, messed up with the day. DC United, the American tour, kicked off. A 1-4-0. Already got two. I think Johnston got one, I believe, and James Forrest. I got the other in that game. And then last night, I made the mistake of staying up for, not the mistake, it was a good result, but I paid for it and worked today. I was absolutely busted. Celtic beat Manchester City 4-3. And yet, look, I know there's people in the comments, and there's, again, in social media, it was their reserve side, bar maybe two or three high-profile players. But all in all, Franny, their team is trained to play the exact same way as their first team, the same movements, the same pressing style, the same passing style. And for Pep Guardiola, it was their first game in a pre-season schedule. And it was just good to see us compete against what were the FC series calling it, the Battle of the Champions, and we come out on top. And it's always good to get a victory over the people down the road anyway. But just a quick overview so far of the American tour. How you finding it? Two good results, two good performances, and that old cliche, minutes in the legs.
That's kind of just exactly that, Stephen. It is two good results, two good performances and minutes in the legs, but it's supposed to be kind of consistent because I think when I was last on, we were talking about, it was off the back of the Ayr United game. Friendlies, you can't read too much into them. It is all about getting minutes in the legs and getting folk up to sort of getting sharpness. And I think certainly I've seen like the highlights in that. I think it was either Willie or Ross that had shared on the group chat earlier. The 8-minute highlights. I think what's pleasing to see more than obviously the results are technically irrelevant, but what's more pleasing is the sharpness in the playing, how well we're playing. That's good to see. I appreciate obviously Man City had a weakened team out. Like I say, it was only Haaland, Grealish and Ederson that you would recognise. But they have got guys like that. Oscar Bob featured a wee bit. That McAtee seems to be well thought of. I think we were even linked to him last season. So there's not going to be many bad players in Man City's team. They're obviously not at the level your Kevin De Bruyne's and Bernardo Silva's are like. Probably a wee bit off that, but I think also that's Man City's first pre-season game as well, so they're proper not really up to speed either and things, but at the end it's just good to see how well we've sort of played over the two games. Like I said, the sharpness in the play and things like that, and trying not to get carried away, but I think we're all in agreement with James that we're winning the European Cup this season. But not getting carried away, Stephen. We're not getting carried away.
We can't get carried away, but we're definitely going to be European champions. I think it's a given. It has to happen. Absolutely demolished Manchester City last night, James. And there was points in the game last night where we were on top, that first half especially. And look, I know we're kind of glossing over the DC United game for obvious reasons. It was still a good run out and a good victory on a terrible pitch. But if we're focusing on the Manchester City game last night, as Franny said, look, we're not naive to believe we're going to be world beaters here. It was 3 first-team starters and a couple of youth team that has serious potential. James McAtee, like you said, Franny, we were linked to him last year quite heavily before he went to Sheffield United, and he featured in most of their games in the Premier League last season. I think Pep Guardiola even name-checked him in his press conference, saying he was excited to see him. Oscar Bob was playing in and out of the team last season. He's a real quality player. He showed that last night at times as well with his kind of his speed and his footwork. But James, if we kind of focus on that game in isolation last night, one of the people we saw coming in for the first start was Casper Schmeichel. One training session, and he was straight in. And I thought that the first half performance showed the doubters, I'm a doubter, I have to admit, why would probably bring him in. He looked really calm and composed, and what I loved as well, but when he was just taking his time on the ball and spreading the ball to the right or left side, it was comfortable. He was able to make long field passes as well to Khün a few times, and not only that, he denied Haaland maybe 2 to 3 opportunities. I think he denied him from that, and then a close range 1-on-1 shot. He was out quick and he spread himself really well. What did you think about him in a Celtic jersey? And if you had any doubts, you can't really say they're gone now, but he did show what a quality keeper he could be going forward.
Aye, but to be fair, my doubts they were never really about his ability. It was just obviously in terms of his age. And as I was saying on, was it Friday we were last on? If we only signed one goalkeeper, be it Sinisalo or Schmeichel, then I would have issues with that. But to sign both of them, to me, it makes perfect sense. And like Schmeichel, he might be a decent age now, but he's still obviously first pick for Denmark at the Euros, and he's been playing regularly in the last couple of seasons for Anderlecht and playing in France for a season before that. So I don't think he's lost it as such, as I've seen kind of some people saying that he was finished. And he's 37. I'll say it for him else does.
I was going to say Sinisalo's finished.
But no, the game last night, it was brilliant. Obviously, as you say, a couple of good saves, and the goal he conceded, he was really, really unlucky with as well. If you're maybe being a wee bit harsh, Scales could have maybe helped him out a wee bit in terms of clearing that after line, but probably been harsh, as I say. But no, I didn't really have any doubts about his ability. I think he's very much still got it, so to speak. But I'm happy with the business we've done in goals. As I was saying on Friday, I'm more than happy. I'm cool with it. Schmeichel will be sound for a year or two with a view of Sinisalo, who, in fairness to him as well, he's looked good when he's been playing, obviously against DC United, and then when he came on, I know he's concedes within a minute he came on, but I don't really think there was anything he could have done about that goal. But he's looked the part as well, so the future's looking bright in terms of the goalkeeping position.
The future's looking bright. The future's green and white. Champions League's coming home. But in the comments as well, friendly, there's a lot of people like Thomas Burden. Thomas Burden saying Casper, what a keeper. Sam Fran was saying Schmeichel spreading the ball around like Burnaby. Don't quite get that one, but obviously a dig to me. And a few people saying I hope Sinisalo gets the cup games. And to be fair, the second half when he came on, he did look decent, albeit he conceded a goal really quickly. But before we come on to that in particular, Casper Schmeichel, is again one of the pleasing things for me is not how quickly he looked to settle in, but he looked at home with that back four, even though that back four is not going to be, hopefully not going to be the back four we start our league campaign against Kilmarnock with. But I thought he was commanding of his box. I thought he was picking the right passes, and as I said, the quick reactions of his saves. And what someone was saying today as well on Twitter, when he came out for that shot one-on-one with Haaland, it was very reminiscent of what his dad used to do. Peter Schmeichel, obviously world-class goalkeeper in his own right, so that pedigree's there. And as James rightly said, look, there was people saying that, again, me myself, and I can't say one game's changed my mind totally, but is this the right way to go? Is this the right thing to do because of his age? We're replacing a 37-year-old Joe Hart with a 37-year-old Casper Schmeichel who will turn 38. But by all accounts, he was excellent the first half and the first kind of game he played in the Celtic shirt.
It was certainly what the highlights I've seen, Stephen. He looked really good, and I was similar to James, and I think maybe a lot of fans, it's not doubting Schmeichel's ability. It's more, I mean, we all accept that keepers can go a wee bit longer, especially these days. Anyway, it seems more common that keepers are still performing into sort of similar ages. It's how it kind of looks. Like on the one hand, Joe Hart retires at 37, and you replace him with a 37-year-old. It's the optics didn't look great. But obviously, then you bring in Sinisalo, who a wee bit unknown, untried, but he's young, so it looks like you're kind of future proofing it, or you're trying to try and develop him and stuff. But Casper Schmeichel, I think it looks like it could be a good sign. Like you say, it's whether he'll continue it throughout the season, but fairly confident he'll kind of do that because he has been Denmark's number one. He must have well over 120 caps anyway for Denmark. He performed well in the Euros there. So I think it's a real smart piece of business. And was he our first target? I'm not so sure he was, but I'm wondering
he was
if it's
a
more
target.
a Brendan Rodgers sitting. I believe it. I mean, I think there was every goalkeeper in the world football was linked to us. It was just seemed to be, it was keeper related. It felt at times it was a new name every day. I just wonder if maybe Rodgers just wasn't happy with what he was getting offered up, and he's maybe had Casper Schmeichel in the back pocket saying, well, I know I can possibly get him in. And I think he's maybe, I don't know, maybe Brendan Rodgers a wee bit impatient, just saying, well, you're no giving me who I want, you're no giving me who I want, so I'm going to get this, I'll go and get Casper Schmeichel, you're no doing what I'm asking you today, I'll get him in, and then we'll take Sinisalo just obviously planning for the future, if you like. But I think Casper Schmeichel, not to have a dig at heart, because he definitely performed well, but I think over the season or two that he stays, I think he'll be an upgrade in that. And I think we all said as well with Hart leaving, it was a big character in the dressing room. See you later on, Stephen. Fine then.
I'm here.
Didn't think my comment was that bad that you had to leave.
I don't know what happened there, mate. Don't know what happened. Go ahead. Keep going.
And also saying that Joe Hart was a big character in the dressing room. I think Peter Schmeichel's got to say, I think Casper Schmeichel can be that as well. You can see he's a commanding figure out. The fact that he's got all the international experience, all the caps, he's played at a really good level throughout his career, really. I think he'll gain that respect. He's got respect in the game, so I think that'll help the defence, which, like I said, hopefully it's not that far.
Well, we can hope and pray. We'll come on to the transfer targets at near the end. I'm sure that'll be a good discussion. But Tony Daly comes in. I think the fact he came in after Denmark without saying that Celtic were likely waiting for him all along. And again, there was people referencing, like you were saying, about his passing ability and the calmness he can bring to the back four. And there's someone, I think maybe it was Tony as well, saying that Joe Hart actually brought panic to the back four sometimes, and Casper seems more of a calmer, kind of softer head in terms of just making that back four a unit, calming the situations down. But look, again, that's what we'll have to see in the coming games. But by all accounts, the first 45 minutes, I was definitely impressed. And another player, James, there's a lot of hype around this pre-season, is Matt O'Reilly. As I said, he scored twice against that DC United. One of them was a first-time Caress volley past the keeper, albeit rebounded out to him, but great control to do it. And then I thought last night, the 45 minutes he was on against Manchester City, there was a part of me thinking, was he trying too hard to get noticed? He was trying things sometimes and the ball was getting took away from him. He was getting frustrated. But the things he did do, the passes he was involved with, the phases of play, I thought the midfield as a trio were fantastic. I thought Rio especially was great last night. But Matt O'Reilly started this American pre-season tour on fire. And the bids apparently keep coming in. We rejected one today, apparently, from Southampton, £14 million again. I really don't understand why they're coming in with £14 million bids. It's never, ever going to happen. But Roger seems relaxed. He knows they don't have to sell him. But if he keeps going the way he's going, it's only a matter of time. He's on fire at the minute.
Absolutely. As you say, the DC United game was probably the better performance, obviously getting 2 goals as well. Last night, as you said, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't obviously as good as the game prior. But the midfield three as a whole, especially in that first 45 minutes, were brilliant. We were barring maybe a wee kind of 5-10 minute spell, weirdly enough, in the middle of the first half. Where Man City got a bit of the pace, but apart from that, we were all of them let a rash. In terms of his transfer fee, I know we were kind of talking about this in the group chat. I don't think we'll get 30 million for him. I think that's a wee bit pie in the sky, but there can't be any harm in getting a bidding war going if that's Southampton and Atalanta. I think I seen Juventus were linked to him. Obviously, the Atletico Madrid thing hasn't really went away, so it's kind of decent clubs plus Southampton that's looking at him. So I get a wee bidding war going. As I say, I don't think we'll get 30. I think if we get maybe 25 or in and around that 25 million mark, I think that'll probably be enough for us to accept it. But even for me, 14 million is a joke. It's going to need to be a lot more than that to get him off us. But in and around that 25 million mark, I think he'll be away.
Yeah, and strange enough the doctor comes in. We'll get 50 million if it's an English club. From I don't think we're gonna get that much, but I do get what he means in terms of if it was an English club selling O'Reilly, it probably would be near enough that fee. Obviously, the inflated transfer market down there. But as I was saying to James, Matt O'Reilly's kind of went into this pre-season where he left off last season, scoring goals, assisting goals, and the guy has took his game on to another level. But since Rodgers came in, we all know at the start he kind of referenced the fact that Rodgers was a wee bit more arm around the shoulder, a bit more on the human side of things than maybe Hans Postecoglou was at the time, and he certainly flourished under Brendan Rodgers. And look, I hope we keep him, but day by day, hour by hour, it looks like these clubs are circling. Liverpool were linked, Atalanta's put bids in, 2 bids, Southampton have had a bid rejected. And as James said there, if you get a bidding war going, then that's fantastic, but the end goal for me is to get this thing resolved as quick as possible, not to drag on, so we know where we stand, get into European football, and where we go into the domestic season, and if we need to replace him. And look, we're not wishing him away, no way at all. I think he's a fantastic player, but sometimes you have to use your eyes here and think this guy he's too good. He's one of these people who will eventually move on to a bigger league, not a bigger club. And as Rodgers rightly said in his press conference, you can move on from Celtic, but it's hard to kind of get over Celtic. It's hard to find that kind of stature of club again, that fan base, that love you feel from the Celtic family. And we all hope and pray he will stay. But he's been phenomenal again in pre-season, hasn't
he? He has. He's kind of, he is looking very sharp, and obviously none of us know Matt O'Reilly personally, but he certainly looks like a level-headed sort of a guy where I don't think he would spit the toys out the pram if a move doesn't sort of transpire this window that maybe he's looking for. Also think I don't know if a Southampton or a Brighton really would be up his street, especially if teams like Juventus, Atalanta, Atletico Madrid, Juve, if these kind of teams, and even Liverpool had a as well, apparently looking at him, if they kind of teams are looking for him, I don't see him going to Southampton or a Brighton. I think he might hold out for that sort of a progression, I feel like. So it's going up a level, and maybe not necessarily a level club, because Atlanta obviously are a bigger club than Celtic, but I think the quality, they do compete in the Champions League. They have been competing in Europe lately. I think, did they not win the UEFA Cup or Europa League last season as well or something? I'm sure they won something. They won a European trophy at Atlanta. So they are doing well. And so if that move doesn't happen, as I say, I don't think he'll throw the toys out of the pram. Obviously, I hope he stays, but it just seems too many teams circling around him, bids getting made. And I know we kind of say it's a bit cheeky offering the money they're offering, but are we maybe getting a wee bit of taste of their own medicine? I mean, we agreed a 6 million fee for Bernardo, and we're wanting to pay 3.5 million for him. We bid 4.5 million for Ida a week ago, and on the face of it, doesn't look like I went back in for him. So maybe, I mean, we criticise Celtic for lowballing teams, so maybe teams are just giving us a wee bit of taste of their own medicine. I think we should be looking 25 plus, pushing the 30 for the guy. We're in a great position financially that we didn't need to really be accepting any less than we want. But equally, it's like, it's one of them, the way it looks and the way it has looked in previous years, the board didn't like spending a lot of money. So whether it's almost like as if it's 14 or 30, what does it really matter at the end of the day? Because it almost feels like we'll no spend that, but I would, as much like you say, as much as I don't want him away, I kind of want it dealt with sooner rather than later, because obviously if he does leave, we do need to replace him. I don't see Bernardo being that replacement. That's just a weird narrative that just seemed to have came from about 6-7 months ago. Folk just saying it being the natural replacement, and it's
because he looks like him a bit.
I don't know what it is, but they're not even similar players. But we'll need to obviously give us time to try and find a replacement. You're not getting a like-for-like replacement, because if we're sitting saying we think that we're wanting 20, 25 million for Matt O'Reilly, we're not going to buy a 25 million pound player. We need to buy another sort of a Matt O'Reilly for 2 years ago, unfortunately, in the hope that it progresses. I'm not saying that needs to be a 1.7 million pound player. It might be you need to go and get a 6, 7, 8, 9 million pound player that's more of a sure hit, I feel like. So I would just like, if he is to leave, I would rather it's dealt with sooner. But I appreciate you didn't just accept a bid that's below your valuation. I just didn't want it being like a Dembele situation where it's last day of the window and you're like, no real time to replace him.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern. I think James Kennedy said the thing that worries him the most, if Matt O'Reilly leaves, then who we got to replace him. And it's that time scale. If you get it done earlier, they can have time to find a replacement. And Franny, I do agree, we're not going to get a like for like, but a scouting department, if it's working, if the lights are on, should be looking at contingency plans, like I said during the week, to find these targets, to find people who maybe could reach that ceiling that O'Reilly has, and Stephen Kennedy come in. Are we waiting for the sale of O'Reilly before we make a move in new signings? Fuck those. We're waiting on something. Strange enough, the doctor says Matt could sign a new contract. Anything can happen, 100%. And see, watching him, James, in the game last night, obviously Liverpool, Atletico Madrid. Now, if we're looking at this from a club's point of view, or the top 5 leagues, do you think Matt O'Reilly could make that step up to Liverpool, to a Manchester City, to an Atletico Madrid? I mean, last night, as I said, some things didn't come off for him, but the physical battle, I thought he coped with it quite well. I thought some of the passes he played were brilliant. He kept holding the ball in tight situations. Do you think he could fit in a top 5 league, or is that us saying he could?
I think he could, but I mean, when you think of it, like the clubs that you've mentioned, like your Man City and Liverpool, I mean, if we're being totally honest, then we can look through our thickest green tinted specs. I mean, he's not going to displace a Phil Foden, a Kevin De Bruyne, even like who's Liverpool, like Szoboszlai, things like that. So I think he's good enough, and I don't think he would look at a place, but I think he's probably maybe the rung below that. I'm actually surprised maybe like a Spurs, obviously with Ange being there, haven't they actually been mentioned and been linked to him. Can that be an interesting negotiation with Lowell against Daniel Levy? But I don't think I don't think he'd look at a place in some of the best sides, but I think he's probably maybe the rung below that. Like Atlanta, what Franny was saying, obviously they've won the Europa League last year, so I'm sure that'll still get you into the Champions League. I don't know why it's been restructured, but I'm assuming so. So that wouldn't be the worst move for him. Obviously, it's not one of the kind of big hitters typically that you think in Italy, but it wouldn't be the worst move for him. But no, like you say, he's going to move on to a bigger league. He's not moving on to a bigger club, and to be fair, pretty much in his full time here, he seems a fairly kind of level-headed guy. He seems to have his head screwed on when you hear him in interviews. So I don't think he'll be kind of pushing for the move. If there's something there that he fancies, then I'm sure he'll say to the board. But I'm sure that he'll understand as well that we'll have a valuation on him. Obviously, Atletico Madrid were in for him in January. So if he keeps up, then if he keeps up his form, then the clubs will still be there. It's just a case of putting the cash down for him. But just to get back to what Franny said, I think I'm the chairman of the Paolo Bernardo replace Matt O'Reilly club. And the only reason I think that is because I think if we're going to sign another midfielder, I think it'll be like a totally different type in terms of maybe like a big holding midfielder, like the American boy that we're linked with Venezia. I can't remember his name. Is it Twellman or something? Taylorman? Something like that.
Tanner Tasman or something like that.
Tasman. But I think it'll be somebody like that who, I mean, you can say it's a replacement in the sense of it's another number in the middle of the park that wasn't there last season. But I think in terms of taking Matt O'Reilly's place in the squad or in the team, if we sign Paolo Bernardo, I think that's the kind of like for like replacement. and then if we do sign another one, it'll be a totally different type of player for Matt O'Reilly.
Yeah, that's the kind of plan I can see Celtic rolling with because of how they are. Bernardo came in, he scored a few goals, and when he had that kind of, what's that you say, James, purple patch? That's 6 weeks where he was scoring and he was assisting. I mean, maybe he could fall into that O'Reilly category. But I do agree with Franny as well. We need to be looking for someone who can come in a replacement. I think Parkhead boy wants to let us know Birmingham are beating Sevco 2-0 in their pre-season game. As San Fran Celtic comes in, sending thoughts and prayers to the cricketers in Birmingham. I don't know if you've seen that about the Murrayfield thing. But another player who is kicked on, especially last night, Franny, Nicholas Khün. And it was so funny today. I was reading, there was a news article, City fans left comments, obviously on their Twitter page, and this news article took them and reporting them, and they were saying this guy's Messi reincarnated. It's Messi on the pitch, take off the mask, Khün, and all this type of stuff. That's how good day thought he was last night. I mean, his 2 goals, and the first one when he was played in, and he ran down and slatted it past Ortega, who was heavily touted as the best number 2 in the world last season when he was filling in for Ederson in cup games and European games and things of that nature, like Keevan Kelleher for Liverpool. They had like a kind of rivalry going on there. And then his assist for Kyogo, outside of the foot, fizzed around the 2 centre halves, and Kyogo finished it really well, took around the keeper. He really surprised me last night. That's the first time I've looked at Khün and went, fuck, we might have a player on our hands here. And I have to be honest, that 45-minute cameo from Khün is probably up there with any 90 minutes I've seen Abada give us in a Celtic shirt. I'm just saying. I'm saying that because of the speed, the trickery, the 2 finishes, and that unbelievable assist. Now, if he can combine that and make a consistent player week on week doing that, we have one hell of a winger, and that makes the recruitment job slightly easier. Just get one more and to be like him. Do you know what I mean? That's what you're looking for there.
I'm just glad you're not getting carried away, though.
No, I'm not getting carried away. But I think it's right to point out that, I mean, James, you've seen the game live last night. He was electric. He tortured their fullback. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm looking at this game from just green tinted spectacles. He was rapid. He was quick. He was getting in behind. He wasn't checking back all the time. And he actually had the confidence to go and beat Ortega twice, which is fantastic. And then that assist, Franny, and I just thought he was excellent. Maybe I'm getting carried away, but I just want the winger that's good again and can take players on and score goals. Please be Khün.
I mean, if it is Khün, great. Superb. I mean, maybe in a morbid way, I'm hoping he feels miserable because I'd written him off after 2 games, and it's one of the ones I think the majority of last season. He obviously had that wee run of games when he came back for his injury that he had, his operation, because he had an issue with his teeth or something, and he had a good wee run, but I thought he tailed off, and obviously James Forrest came in and seen us over the line. But nice, maybe he was just needing that 6 months to settle in. He certainly, going over and reading Twitter, the highlights are saying he was really good. If you've been critical, the left back's defending wasn't exactly brilliant. He had acres of space in both goals, and just
that's not Khün's fault. That's not Khün's fault.
No, I know that's not Khün's fault, and I suppose you could then argue it's good positional play for Khün be noticing that and then keeping a bit wide and stuff, and noticing the space and noticing where he needs to be. Because I think for both his goals, it was great build up playing the midfield to then release him, and showed a bit of confidence to obviously take it on a run and slot it back by the goalkeeper on the first one on his weaker foot, and obviously the second one he checks inside on his favoured left foot, and then like you say that not away from the pass. The pass for the Gogo's goal is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. If that's some of the top players in world football, you're ranting and raving that, regardless if friendly or no. It doesn't really matter. You're talking about that pass for days. But hopefully does kick on. It's obviously benefits. You can't have too many good players, so hopefully it maybe was just needing 6 months to settle in. He's maybe understood what Rodgers is wanting with him. I mean, we might talk about it as well. Palmer's obviously came under a bit of sort of criticism lately about what Rodgers might kind of wants him to do off the ball, and maybe Khün was falling at that category a wee bit as well. I thought defensively Khün did do okay, but maybe just needed to bulk up a wee bit, and he's just, let's say, needing Rodgers is wanting more for him. So I hopefully does kick on, Stephen, but I would still like to see somebody out there, because as much as I think guys like me and you, even Ross, try to stick up for Yang, I'm not so sure he's got to be the answer out there. And Forrest, to all his credit, came in and performed really well last season, but I just don't see how we can be going into the season with having to rely on Forrest again. I would like somebody in there to complement. Like Forrest, I think will play his part next season. He can obviously fill in at left wing as well, but I do think we need cover, especially at that right. It's mad because, like I say, Maeda's at 1 minute just looks like he's trapping a balloon. He's just terrible, but we'd probably all hear him in our team. And Palmer, it just depends if you potentially could be looking at 2 wingers. You could be looking at a right and left winger. Realistically, are you going to get that? Probably no. It's probably more looking for either a new right winger or cover competition at right wing, because obviously we've got Forrest that can go right and left. I think Khün, if push came to shove, could go out there, but obviously you'd have Maeda and Palmer fighting for that position. I mean, as much as I think Palmer's frustrating as hell, and I like the eye test, equally cannot ignore that guy's numbers last season. If that was Jota numbers, we'd all be ranting and raving about it.
No. Jota passed the eye test, Franny. Palmer.
Jota did pass the eye test, but
Do you know what I mean?
equally, the numbers, I know Jota got a few against Rangers and stuff, but Palmer got one in the Champions League as well.
He did, to be fair. And look, I've always said if Palmer can pass my eye test, then I'll take him as a player. But just unfortunately, right now he's not quite doing that. Albeit he did score. That it was against City, wasn't it? He did score against City, didn't he? He did. Aye, it's heads away. But James, people in the comments were saying about how good the front three. Maeda was electric. Kyogo was electric, and Khün as well. Obviously, the pick of the bunch. But Franny made a point. He still looks a bit slight in frame. I don't know if they're obviously working on that behind the scenes to bulk him up, like Christie levels when he came back from the Aberdeen loan move and things. He was bulked up and he was ready to go. Maybe they're going to put, I don't know, Khün in the same program to do that, because I do agree with Franny in that instance. He does need to bulk up his frame, but you can't take it away from him. He was on fire last night, and I thought at times he was unplayable, and just that confidence in his game. And like what Franny was saying, you seen it in fits and starts last season, on and off. He was scoring. He scored against Aberdeen in the semis. He was doing bits here and there, but it wasn't quite clicking for him. And obviously the dental issue, and people are saying give him time, but people like myself get very frustrated very easily and write him off. But this pre-season, Rodgers just spoke highly of him, and he certainly delivered. And Franny pointed out defensively, he's putting the shift in as well. So obviously that's been drilled into him. And if he can keep that going, then it could be a good winger we'll have in the hands.
I'm the same as you. I mean, I had wrote him off as well. I think even as close as Friday, I was on here saying if he moved on, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And I know we're talking 45 minutes in a pre-season friendly, which really doesn't count for a lot. But off the back of what we've seen, he was absolutely brilliant. And to be honest, kind of similar. The DC United game, I think it was in the second half, there was one where Yang gets played clean through and he's 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. It's not the one he passes to Forrest, it was one prior to it. And he had the fully America to run into, and he was 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. And I was just so confident that he wasn't scoring. And to be honest, I think if the goalkeeper isn't there, he tries to chip him. And I think if the goalkeeper isn't there, I still don't think there's enough power on the ball for it to actually cross the line. And I must admit, last night when it was Khün with the first goal, when he was running into that space, I'm like, I don't fancy him. 1-on-1, I just don't fancy him. And then obviously the first goal especially is a fantastic finish. The second goal, again, he does really, really well. But I think it was Parkhead Boy said earlier in the comments that he won't have that space domestically. I mean, it looked as if Man City were defending the halfway line at times in the first half. And we've seen it a few times. Look, Maida was excellent as well. On the other side, he was up against that Rico Lewis, who's quite highly thoughted in there. I thought he get the better of him. But look, Khün scores 2 brilliant goals. And for me, the best thing he done was that assist. I don't know if it's just the kind of garrishness of it with the outside of the boot. It put me in mind Kyogo's goal with the Jota assist against Ferencváros a couple of years ago. It put me in mind of that a wee bit. Kyogo does really well with the goal and all, obviously taking it around the goalie. But look, I know, as I say, I'm trying not to get carried away, but he looked good as well against DC United when he came on. Palma as well. Look, I like Palma regardless, but when Palma came on against DC United with the boy Anderson behind him, and like, I know it was essentially DC United reserves because they're kind of mid-season as well, but I thought the two of them looked really, really good. Obviously, Palma comes on, scores the winner against the best team in Europe, so that's got to count for something. But
let it go, James. Let it go.
I like the both of them. I thought Palma, even at Way's goal, I thought Palma was good in both the games. So I was kind of the same as Franny in the sense that I thought we needed a winger to come in the first, walk into the first team. Like you're saying, Maida would be in all our teams, but he tends to split opinion. Like you're saying, he can look world class 1 minute and then couldn't trap a bag of cement the next. So there's a question mark there potentially. And then the other side is pretty much up for grabs, isn't it? Like, between any of them, really. But to be fair, if they are all coming on to form at the one time, I'm not even mentioning James Forrest. He's looked really good pre-season as well. If they're all coming on to form at the one time, it's a great problem to have. And look, at this point, obviously it still is a massive if, then maybe we don't need to sign a winger. Maybe that's a wee bit naive, obviously based off pre-season games, and when the season starts, obviously will be the kind of test for them. But it's a great problem to have pretty much every forward player hitting form at the same time. And they're all flying, looking good and scoring goals as well, which is obviously important.
Scoring goals, but we did concede a couple, 3 goals last night. One of them, Haaland, got above Scales quite easily. Franny for the header. And for some reason, my mind's gone blank. I can't quite remember the other 2 for some reason. But any issues with the defending? With how we defended them goals? Obviously, Scales got caught underneath the ball again, and you can kind of see him being replaced very quickly, hopefully, and we get a proper partner in. For Carter Vickers, look, that's not saying he didn't do a good job last season. He did, but Haaland didn't even really need to do much to get above him. He just jumped and he was above him. That was it, really, and it was a goal. Quite easy for him. But any other issues with the defending?
Well, all I can really remember of the first goal is a shot, and obviously Schmeichel kind of just goes under Schmeichel, and like you said, maybe the deflection and the fact that it's a pre-season friendly stop Scales really maybe overstretching and doing himself an injury, because like James was touching on there, I think Scales maybe could have, I mean, it's highly critical, maybe nitpicking, maybe could got to it, but like I say, it's pre-season, you don't need to be overstretching to try and avoid a goal, and you end up putting your hamstring, doing yourself an injury, and it just sets you way back. So for the first goal, I'm not really, what I can remember, and I'm not really going to criticise too much. Second goal, be honest, I'm a bit like you, I can remember it for the life of me right now.
Oh yes, it was in your man cut in the right hand side of the box.
Not that much. I can remember Oscar Bob set it up, but
it's Mikey Johnston that's at fault. If you watch it back, he's like a dog chasing a wasp. He runs back, and then he gets cut inside. He gets turned again, and then just lets him run past him. It's a good finish, to be fair, but Mikey Johnston get absolutely schooled.
But the third goal, Scales gets caught underneath it. Again, maybe just a wee bit on his heels with being a friendly, but at the same time, we're crediting the forward players for being bang at it and sharp. I suppose it's only fair to maybe have a wee, to kind of criticise the defence as well, if they're kind of on their heels and they're not being as sharp. And I've seen some folk on Twitter saying that Haaland bullied them and all that, but He probably did, but Haaland will bully a lot of players. He's just a big unit of a guy. Powerful, tall, strong. But that's not to say, and like you started on, Liam Scales played fantastic for the most part last season. I feel like I hate when you say like we need to upgrade and folk say he played well. It's like you feel like you need to caveat the fact that he played well last season. It's like nobody's denying that, but you can't realistically thinking Scales is our best option at centre half. We can't be thinking that's an option this season and saying that. Like surely we're looking at somebody for Carter Vickers who's out of a level or better if possible. I just find it on one hand, the lack of rumour could be a good thing. It could be that we're doing stuff behind, just doing it in the right manner, trying to keep it out of the press. But at the same time, I think Celtic are on the fly, on the daft, and they maybe leak a couple of things when they want to leak it to get feelers out, and just doesn't seem to be anything coming out at all. Obviously, we were linked to the Burnley boy O'Shea, I think it is.
Yep, very early on, yeah.
But nothing seems to be coming to that. I mean, I think we all, it's probably similar to last season, all had Scales out the door, similar to how we probably all had Lagerbielke out the door, but guy's still there, and there doesn't seem to be any teams coming in from. And is that maybe Rodgers sitting saying, well, I'm happy with the centre-half position? I hope not. I just can't. Because he obviously, I'm not saying he doesn't fancy Nawrocki, but I know he kind of got injured, but I just don't see him starting with Nawrocki either, because he had plenty of opportunity to bring him in last season, but he went with Scales. So I just hope we're looking at a centre-half. Scales, we all know, he can do a job, but just don't know if he can go to that level again for a full season.
Well, I don't think that level's in him. If I'm honest, I think his limitations is probably SPFL, and that's no slight on him. James, to be fair, he done a great job for us last season when we should have strengthened that position. Obviously, Lagerbielke and the Rocky didn't quite hit the mark with Rodgers for whatever reason. The Rocky comes back in pre-season, gets injured again, and he'll be probably on the treatment table for a few months, and won't see him in the Celtic shirt for the foreseeable. But what about yourself? You mentioned Mikey before we actually come on to Mikey and the actual subject around him. The defending was woeful. It came back into my mind straight away when you actually mentioned that, because your fellow was on the right hand side. He made a couple of dummies, sold him down the river, and he came in and just put a pass in a shallow bottom left corner. And the Haaland one right over Scales, like he wasn't there. And then the first one, I have to admit, I didn't actually see the first one. The TV froze, so I didn't see it. But you any issues for the defending?
I don't think it's great, to be honest. I think the one thing in games last season, actually in the league, my main criticism was that we were boring to watch. I think the one thing you can't level it is in pre-season is that we've been boring. It feels as if every game's been a 10-21 so far. But at the same time, obviously, that's no great when you look at it defensively. And you've got to caveat it with saying, obviously, that Carter Vickers is by a mile our best centre-half. He's no there. Alistair Johnson, by a mile our best right-back, and he's no there. And then, obviously, if you include the goalkeeper position in it, we've got two new goalkeepers coming in, no long in the door, so we've had Scott Bain in there prior to that. So the defence for me needed, including the goalkeeper position, needed major surgery. That was kind of the one area. If I'm being greedy, I really don't rate Tony Ralston. I didn't think he was great last night when he came on again. I thought he was stinking at the Euros. I think he got a. I've said that 100 times. I think he got a new deal after the back of that thing you always say, Stephen, after the back of a purple patch. He got a new deal after under Ange, and he's still here. So I don't think it will happen, but I'd like to get a new right back in as well, and obviously move Ralston on, but it's not going to happen. But for me, the defence, the centre backs, you've got Carter Vickers miles in front, and then you've got Scales probably the best of the rest, but it really is much of a muchness when you run through them based off what we've seen. Like Nawrocki, Lagerbielke, Welsh, Kobayashi's probably bottom of the pile, but there really isn't like a standout between them based off what we've seen. So a centre back is non-negotiable, as is a left back for me. And obviously we've had all the kind of chat about Greg Taylor's contract as well coming out in the last couple of days. The boy Matthew Anderson, he was out on loan, obviously, as we said. He was out on loan last year. Again, it's only pre-season, but he's looked really good. And to be fair, so is the boy, is it Donovan, and right back, he's looked quite good as well. But I still would like to see us bring in a left back to walk into the first team and a left centre back to take Scalesi's position. But in terms of the centre backs, I think if we are to do that and sign a first team centre back, then we're going to need to move probably 2 on at least. You'd imagine Kobayashi and Lagerbielke will probably be the two candidates to put the door. Possibly even Stephen Welsh on top of that as well. But that for me, that's 2 absolute non-negotiables in what's left of the transfer window is a new centre back and a new left back. For me, looking at the team, it's the absolute glaring weak spot that's there. So it needs to be dealt with.
It does need to be addressed. We'll come on to Roger's comments shortly. I do want to break the podcast up a wee bit. Obviously, it's pre-season, and I was thinking to myself what to do. We could do a quiz, but it could probably last 2 hours, and we're all a bit tired tonight because we did a marathon again on Friday. Myself, you, James, and Gavin. It was a long one, and I was like, lighten them out a wee bit before we come on to Mikey Johnston and transfer talk. And there's this trend that I'm seeing online on Instagram and things. It's like the first person to laugh loses, but usually they'll have water in their mouth and it goes everywhere. I don't want you to put a hang in your mouth. I don't want you to ruin your equipment. But maybe if it goes well, we'll do that in the future. Who knows? Now these jokes are off Google. So first and foremost, anyone in the comments, please do not take offence to any of these jokes. They're just jokes I found off Google. It's just trying to make James and Franny to make James and Franny laugh. And this is the thing: if you don't laugh, you don't laugh. Okay, if I get 3-5 jokes, you don't laugh, we'll move on and we'll never do it again. It's just to bring up the podcast a bit. Sam Fran wants me to do impressions. You've seen my Rogers impression. I can't even do my own Irish accent.
He's only a Northern Irish guy, Northern Ireland guy. Can't do a Northern Irish accent.
That's because I'm Irish, but it's fine. But right. So the first one that I came across, right? Now, as I said, please no one take offence. Right? Okay. So the first one.
Right, I'm worried what jokes you're putting.
First to laugh loses, or even a smirk or a smile, because right. I was digging in our garden when I found a chest full of gold coins. I was about to run straight home to tell my wife about it, but then I remembered why I was digging our garden. No one flinches there. No one flinches. Second one. Sam Fran's already offended. I mean, we're off to a terrible start if that's what's happening. Second one. James, you laughed.
I laughed at your comment.
Well, right. My elderly relatives like to tease me at weddings, saying, "You'll be next." They soon stopped though once I started doing the same thing to them at funerals. Come on. Right. Third one. Franny, I mean, a wee bit, no? Third one. This one made me laugh. See, I was reading it. Right, hold on. Yeah. My girlfriend's dog died, so I tried to cheer her up by getting her an identical one. Hold on. It just...
Jesus.
It just made her more upset. She screamed at me and said, "What am I supposed to do with 2 dead dogs?" That's quality. Fuck. There's that 3 tears in my eyes. Franny, you're laughing.
No, because you're saying your game is not to laugh, and you're going on a huff because we're going to laugh.
Right. Hold on.
It's not no saying the jokes to try and no laugh at them.
Right, joke 4. I hate double standards. Burn a body at a crematorium. You're being a respectful friend. Do it at home, and you're destroying evidence. This is mental. Right, hold on. Right, last one, because you are a tough nut to crack. I've been pissing myself by myself, do you know what I mean? So it's fine. Oh, right, hold on. Right. When I die, I want to die like my grandfather, who died peacefully in his sleep, not screaming like all the passengers in his car. Fuck yous all, right? That was funny. I know it was funny. I had good crack doing that, right?
The whole point was not to laugh.
Stephen, what's the
People-
difference? What's the difference between a joke and two? But it doesn't matter. Never mind.
I'm undelusional. Wow. See, your man's giving me a laugh. Look at this. Come on. Unbelievable. Martin Weir's laughing, Sam Fran's laughing, Strange. We're going to keep doing it. Every time I'm on, we're doing that. People are laughing. Like Red Scotland as well. Brilliant. What's this? Stephen Canley. Why did the veterinarian prescribe birth control pills for dogs? It's part of an anti-litter campaign. Fuck's sake. That's funny. No, these are awful. Don't these have a sense of humour? Like, seriously? But anyway,
I'd be ashamed
James.
if I just laughed all the time.
Right.
But
Just while we're doing this, it's not really a joke, but it's a wee quiz question, right? I got asked it earlier. It's a wee kind of quick one. Well, it's not really a quick one. You need to get answers for it. There is six players. 6 Australian players have played for Celtic. Can you name all 6?
so we just to say how many we think we'll get. Do
No,
that
just
way.
tell me who the 6 players are.
All right. Scott McDonald.
Mark
Rogic,
Viduka, Scott
Tillio.
McDonald, Rodziggs, Jackson Irvine, Tillio, and
Fuck,
Daniel
there's 7.
Azarni.
Right, there's
Aye.
7. I forgot about Jackson Irvine. Right, sorry, say it again. McDonald, Irvine.
McDonald, Rodzik, Arzani, Tillio.
Yes.
Who was the other one I said? Who was the other one?
Jackson Irvine and Mark Viduka.
Jackson Irvine.
Mark Viduka.
and
Right, you've got one
Mark Viduka.
left. One left to get.
Is it recently?
Yes.
Moy.
Yes, there we go.
Aye.
Nice.
Thanks, Stephen Kennedy. I'll to give Stephen that one. But yeah, James, you mentioned before about Mikey Johnston, right? Franny, I don't think you would have seen it in the highlights that you watched, but basically he came on at half time last night. Within the first 5 minutes of him coming on, he tried a flick, right? And the laziest backheel attempt you'll ever see in a football pitch. Rodgers came running out of his technical area, screaming and berating him. And Johnson, as he always does, slinks away and starts crying. But that for me, probably should James spell the end. Just the end of him in a Celtic shirt and the whole potential garbage, the whole if he gets a full pre-season garbage, if he stays fit, bullshit. He's not cut out for Celtic. He's got undoubted talent. Let's give him that. He plays well when he plays well when he's away from Celtic. Maybe it's the pressure. And he did rip it up a wee bit for West Brom last season for the first couple of games he did play. But take it away, James. Mikey Johnston. Let's go.
Mate, the guy is hopeless. He's always been hopeless. He will always be hopeless. I have never ever understood the hype. Even as far back, to be fair, I've loaned in this really a couple of years, but even with Gavin McGinty on the Jungle Gyms, I have never ever understood the hype. I know it's a running joke, but this must be his 85th last chance. We have the same thing every season. I read that people want, because he scored a couple of goals for West Brom last year. Don't get me wrong, a couple of them were belters. He's all of a sudden worth 4 or 5 million. And I'm like, 4 or 5 million what? Because it can't be pounds. I would genuinely take ginger bottles for the guy. He is rank rotten. Honestly, mate, what was it last year, 12 months ago or something? We were on here and I said that he was in his 5th pint in the last chance saloon. I think he's had another fair few rounds in since then. And obviously, he's still here. I would honestly pay him up just to release him. People going about James McCarthy being bad. Mikey Johnston is every bit as bad, if no worse. I swear we must have gave him a contract for life. I just, he's no go to it. He's never had it. He's never gonna have it. Just put him out on loan to fucking Bonnie Rig Rose or something, or anybody that will take him, and just get him off the books so we don't ever need to watch him again. Like you're saying, last night when he came on, back he was the ball at the park, and then even the game at the weekend, honest to God, see across both these games, he probably should have 6, maybe 7 goals. I mean, the one last night, I don't know if you remember it, I think it's Palma goes by a man, as he always does, puts in an excellent cross, as he always does, and then Mikey Johnston's there, and the cross essentially beats the keeper. He just has to header it into what is basically an empty net because of Palma's brilliant work, and he heads it out, and I swear it went out for a shy. The guy is ranked rotten, and then even the other night when he scores, he's fucking doing all this pish with his horn celebrating and all that, and you're like, mate, just aye. So apart from that, he's all right though, to be fair. So aye. But nah,
James, I totally.
For me, and in case you can't tell, he's no for me.
I can't tell, and I'm with you on that boat, to be fair. And we've had the discussion ever since we started this podcast 4 years ago now, Franny, about Mikey Johnston every pre-season. And Red Scotland put in the comments that they think this is testimonial year next year is beyond belief when the guy's barely contributed anything. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been bits and bobs where he's looked all right and he scored a few wonder goals. Was it Sarajevo in Europe and stuff like that? He's done good things, but it's just time for him to just go. And even Pride in himself, like, I would be like the Rodgers, it's not working out. Move me on. As James said, cut up the contract, let him go for free, go and find some other football club to take him on and have the same discussion with their respective fan podcast every summer for every pre-season. Do you know what I mean? So where do you stand with Mikey Johnston then? Franny, everyone in the comments is, I think, saying get him out, really.
Well, I think the couple folk that I've mentioned, I know it was also tongue-in-cheek, you won't get a testimonial, but that says it all for me. The guy is obviously this is his 9th year, and we're having the exact same conversation year on year. 9 years on the bounce, we're sitting saying, is this got to be Mikey Johnston's year? Is this got to be his year? I was just trying to do a quick search on Google on Wiki. So as Wikipedia, he's played 60 games for us in that 9 year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's never got to be, because like, when are you going to be, if it is his year, when is that? Like 60 games over 9 seasons, or well, what would be 8 seasons, sorry. It's 10 games a season on average. It's Mikey Johnston, like say, I'm probably not going to be as harsh as James. He clearly is a decent enough football player. He didn't make it to Celtic if he earned it, but he's no good enough for Celtic. I don't believe I think there is obviously a bit of talent there. He has showed it now and again. And I suppose maybe in a parallel universe, that League Cup final, I've said that before, if he scores when he's going 1-1, you just never know. But it was not that I seen the Yang chance last night, but that Mikey Johnston chance in the League Cup final, he had the freedom of handling, and he slips and puts it wide, and it just kind of sums up Mikey Johnston's time at Celtic. Just he's got a chance here, and it's nothing, and it just feels like, they say, it's the 9th. Like folk are saying, it's the 9th year we're having the exact same conversation, because he'll obviously turn up in pre-season simply majority of the time, probably because you're just getting guys minutes in the legs. Maybe you're hoping he has a wee good couple of games and somebody goes, oh, that might be a player. But I think it's interesting that I say this without really keeping track of West Brom, but if you go where it says online, he had a really good run at West Brom. He certainly started well when he went down there. But interestingly, West Brom haven't came back looking for him. So reading it that what you want at the end of the day, it's whether they do come in from or not is a different matter. But nobody seems to be interested in him. Mikey Johnston will never be a Celtic player. And as I say, in a parallel universe, if that goal goes in against Rangers, you just never know. But I had a bit of sympathy for a period of time when Lennon told him to fuck off, because obviously he did have his injury problems. He came in and probably played injured and just didn't help him. But I think we're all like that now. Just like, Mikey, fuck off.
What age is he now? Is he, what, 25, 26 or something? 25? And the one word that everybody associates with him is potential. At what point?
25 according to Wikipedia, mate.
At what point do we just call it quits and just let...
Well, 9 years, let's say 9 years.
Right. And look, I know people,
let's
say he had a good spell in Portugal. See if you go looking back at like the stats. Obviously, I'm not watching the team he's playing for week in, week out, but just in terms of the stats, he didn't have a good year in Portugal. I think he scored 1 goal and he had a couple of assists or something like that. And then West Brom, like you're saying, he started like a house on fire, and then it kind of tapered off towards the end of the season. And like you're saying, they haven't come back in for him. So surely, and like you're saying, we've had this conversation umpteen times, but surely that's the final nail in the coffin now, and we've just got to put him out to whoever will take him, really.
Mm-hmm. I thought Rodgers was going to absolutely strangle him last night when he done that back. He wasn't the quickest I've seen Rodgers move in a long while, apart from on the touchdown when he's celebrating. But on the recruitment side of things, Franny, obviously today, parking Mikey Johnston aside, as you said, fuck off, Mikey, it's time to go. Today there was interesting comments that were put out by Rodgers, basically throwing all the attention onto Chris Mackay and Michael Nicholson, Chief Executive and the Finance Director, Chris Mackay, saying he had a lengthy meeting and they know who he wants and what the targets should be. And he hopes and expects, and he also told the Celtic supporters he expects these targets to be in place for August and then the transfer window, and he doesn't want the club standing still. Now, there's 2 ways I've looked at this. He's coming out reassuring the supporters that we're doing work behind the scenes, but also, if it fails, he's pointing the finger well and truly at them 2 individuals for not getting the job done, if that happens.
I told him before I start, you need to put a light on in your house. It's getting a bit dark out there.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. Look at that. Look at that. See, it doesn't work.
Something made you darker. Something made it darker.
It's all right. We're fine. I'm still here. You can hear me. That's all right.
I think you're right in what you said, Stephen. I know a lot of us are frustrated about the lack of activity, but I think we'd be foolish to think that there's nothing at all happening. It just feels, I think it's James has even said it in the past, it feels like Celtic work on one deal and work to the next and then go to the next and go to the next. It doesn't feel like they have tons of plates spinning at the same time and things like that. I mean, the Bernardo deal just seems to be dragging on. It seems like we've managed to agree the $3.5 million, but we just still haven't got that deal. The Ada deal, I still think we'll get him, but it's one of them. If that's Rodgers' top target, just go and get him. Like, obviously, don't pay well over the odds, but just pay the money. If it's 5, 6, 7, go and do that. Obviously, I wouldn't go to 8, 9, 10 million for the guy, but if Norwich have got to do a deal around about 6 million, just go and get him. It's who Rodgers wants. But I think like I said, Rodgers he's trying to reassure the fans. He's always looked calm. He's still. I have seen the comments, and they certainly are calm kind of comment. Like he's calm. He's always looking long term at the end of the window, whereas us as fans will kind of always look to the start of the season, which is it's only fair and honest. It's kind of what we do. You turn up in Flag Day, you want to just see the new players essentially, and you want to just get a look at them. But Rodgers has obviously put a timestamp on it to the end of August, which is obviously the thing you'd expect. He's got to be thinking that way, but I think he's done it in a clever way. Rodgers isn't a daft guy. A lot of managers will try and protect their sale anyway, and I think the comments, they're interesting. I think they are protecting him in case he doesn't get the signings he wants, and he's got that out there early, saying, look, we've had a chat, I've told him what I want, I've left him to it to get that done. I've got to put my focus on the team, which is, I think, like you say, he's protecting his sale, and he's kind of chucking them under the bus if the deals didn't get done in looking after his sale and stuff. So it also could be seen as putting a bit of pressure on. Maybe he's a wee bit frustrated that things are taking longer. Maybe he's sharing some of the fans' frustrations, and he's politely trying to give them a nudge and say, "Look, I need to focus on the team now. You do your job, get these deals done." It also gives us a wee bit of transparency, maybe into who to blame when transfers didn't get over the line. Because is that a recruitment team? Is Michael Nicholson, Brendan Rodgers, and Chris Mackay, which I didn't really think is a way a big club should be working. Is your CEO, essentially, your CEO, manager, and Chris Mackay, the finance guy, being recruitment. Obviously, you see the need to be involved in it, but I think there should be others involved. But I think they're very clever comments for Rodgers. It's try to keep the fans calm by saying he's calm. I suppose we've got to take it at face value that he is calm, but also the way I'm reading it as well was I'm way used to even I think he's chucking him under the bus to protect his salary, but and also a wee bit I'm reading it as saying maybe he's sharing a wee bit of frustration and saying, "Come on, let's get things going here. Start moving." As much as I've kind of in the past I've said we just go and buy this guy, buy that guy. I mean, as much as last season I was saying I think we should go and buy that Fabian Reader, and I was thinking we're going to sign McTominay and that spend £16 million on players. I know that's not going to happen, and I'm kind of the mindset, or try to get off the mindset that the value of the players no issue. I just want quality, but obviously there's less risk to you signing a guy that costs more money. It's just there's a reason they cost more money at the end of the day. But unfortunately for the board, not to sound like I'm sticking up for them, you can't be sitting in all that cash reserve and no. I'm not saying like spend it all, but if you're not investing serious money in that team, why are you sitting with all that cash? It's not going to wash with fans for very much longer. It's not washing with a lot of fans, and if they do, as I say, if they don't get a few deals over the line, it's going to be interesting how they spin it positively and say, like, well, I mean, because I think previously they said they were keeping it it was for a rainy day. COVID was that rainy day, and we came out that smelling like roses. So I'm still confident we will spend money. I think there's a lot of frustration in the fan base. I think Rodgers will get his guys. I just don't think he'll get them as quick as we would all like them, and maybe not as quick as Rodgers, but I believe he'll get, in an ideal world, get all the targets and positions by the end of August. But as long as it gets a majority of them, I think we'll need to accept that. But I just think a lot of the frustrations are coming from everybody has got an idea of how they want Celtic to be better, and some are bollocks, some are actually on the money. And it's just, if one hand you say, "Oh, what does it? Just stay calm," this or that, it's, "Oh, you're a bored, you're a happy clapper." Then if you're saying, "Go and get somebody," if you're showing a lot of frustration, it's you're on the other side. There just doesn't seem to be a happy medium between the fan base, and I think it's built for a lot of frustration.
It is built for a lot of frustration. Franny, I mean, you've talked a lot about transfers in the past, and we've had massive debates about certain things that the board do, and I think the happy clappers. But what's wrong?
You just said that you and Franny had a mass debate.
Oh, did it? Well, we've done that maybe 3 or 4 times, but that's besides the point, right?
That's a different podcast.
That's a different podcast, all right. But this is the thing. That was a good impression, James. I'll give you that one. But I think as well, the so-called happy clappers for the board, for me, James, are running out of excuses now. There is no excuses for this board. Rodgers himself has chopped and changed his mind about recruitment ever since he's been back at Celtic Football Club. And before the end of last season, he was talking about getting players in early for the start of pre-season. Now his tune has changed again, where he's looking towards the end of August, and that again is giving the board more time. And it looks like he is firing a few shots across the board here to them, be like, "Come on, let's get this done." And there's people in the comments, and it never goes away in terms of people feeling he could walk if he's frustrated. And yeah, like you couldn't really blame him. And the question for me always comes back to why would he come back to us without at least guarantees of X, Y, and Z, of bigger budgets, of different markets to shop in. He can get his number one targets within a financial reason, of course. So, like Franny, I'm not saying spend £20 million on an individual player, albeit we could do it, so it wouldn't be an issue. But why would he come back if this is what is being served up to him? We still don't have a head of recruitment, chief scout. Seems like Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay are running the ship again, and he's left it up to them. He said today that him and his coaches just focus on basically the training until his targets arrive, and it's up to them to get the deals across the line. And it's like, I have no faith in them. I have no faith in the Celtic board to deliver. And what happens if we get to the end of August and his top targets don't come in? What happens then?
Mate, I agree. Like there's every chance he could walk, but I don't actually think at this point he would, to be honest. But like what you're saying about why is he come back, I 100% agree with that. I was the same last summer as well. But in terms of his comments, I genuinely believe that Brendan Rodgers will be as frustrated as myself, as most of the support, with how the Windies playing out, because it just feels as if we've seen it all before. We've seen it last year. We've seen it a million times before with this board. But the thing that Brendan Rodgers has just been stung with this board before, and they might have moved seats in round the table, but it's still all the same people, and we know how they operate. He knows how they operate. If he's being honest, he probably didn't get what he wanted last summer. I think that's probably a fairly obvious statement to make. But last summer, it was like mixed messages. The message, I think, the quote was, he'll coach what he's given, or words to that effect. And then the next breath, he was talking about making a dent in Europe and this plan for a European final, or whatever the talk was at his unveiling conference. But then after that, obviously, that fucking Q word came in the run up to January. We were signing quality. And look, whether or not we signed it, look, Adam Ida was quality for Celtic, but it was a loan signing without an option to buy. Nicholas Khün, as good as he was last night, he wasn't a quality signing for the second half of the season last season. So whether or not we got that quality in January obviously leaves a lot to be desired. I think I would say we didn't. And then we find ourselves coming into the summer, and look, I think it was the season review when I say that I'm pretty much in the fuck it'll be a laugh camp, as Kevin Bridges would say. But last year, I was toys at the pram. We should have done this. We should have done that. We should have signed X, Y, and Z. And then the same again in January. Obviously, with the whole discussion about Miovski or signing a new striker, and then obviously eventually we get Adam Ida in the door. So, but I don't think we'll fill all the positions. I don't think we'll get all the targets that we should be getting. I think there'll obviously be compromises to be made, but it's whether or no should there be compromises. Should we need to compromise? The reason, like we were discussing earlier, the reason that we need a left back and we needed two goalies and we needed a left centre back, arguably the centre back one not so much, but it's because we didn't take care of these positions last year or in January. The reason that, do you know what I mean? It's the reason why we're facing quite a substantial rebuild, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, obviously, if Matt O'Reilly goes. Obviously, that's on more positive terms, but it's because we haven't done what we've had today in the previous transfer windows. And well, I get, obviously, that there is still time left to go, but and I would love to be sitting on here at the end of the window saying I'm delighted with the business we've done. We've signed X, Y, and Z for whatever, spent X amount of money. But history just kind of dictates that doesn't really happen. Like the Adam Ida thing that obviously we spoke about, that we were talking about there, I think it's fairly evident to say that he is our number one target. We've chased him for it'll be 2 months or more for the cup final, so we've chased him for the best part of 2 months. We're no any further down the road with it. we've had bids rejected, we're not willing to meet their valuation. If we're not willing to meet their valuation, then for me, that's when you're like, right, well, if you're not going to go any bring that down, then we need to look elsewhere. And fair play, me personally, I would agree. I don't think Adam Ida, was it 8 or 9 million that was quoted? I don't think he's worth that personally. But see if that's your number one striker that the manager wants, and we're sitting on a pile of cash, and he's shown that he can do it, then pay it up, because what's the alternative? It doesn't. We've not really. I know the Miovski stuff isn't really going away, but I think that's just because he's playing in the same league. I don't actually think there's ever been any kind of concrete link to Miovski. I don't really think there's been any concrete link to another striker, to be perfectly honest. So
there's no concrete links to anybody.
Not exactly, but I'm weirdly, as much as I'm kind of moaning and like, I don't even think you need to have hindsight this time around. We've seen it before. We've seen it last summer. I'm pretty calm with it, and the reason I'm pretty calm with it, I think, is because I done all my moaning last year, and I thought it would be like coming into this window. I just didn't think we would do what was required. So if we do what's required, then for me it will obviously be a massive bonus. But history kind of dictates that we won't, and that's before you even look into the personnel in terms of like the recruitment, the actual recruitment team itself. Obviously, we brought in Lowell's son, didn't work, and then we get rid of him, and we get rid of Joe Dudgeon as well. But these guys have never been replaced. So, and look, Rodgers likes to throw out that wee quote that he could have signed 9 players in the first day of the transfer window, but they weren't good enough. And well, that's a good wee soundbite to show that you're in control. But my question to that would be, who's identified the 9 players then that aren't good enough? Because whoever that is, it's identifying, and they're not doing their job right. I would look at it for the other side, and I've said on here before, we want to watch with Ange because he obviously had knowledge of the Asian market, and we were able to tap into it. And what the signings he made, I'm not going to say they were all brilliant, but by and large his hit rate was excellent. And then obviously Mark Global came in, and it went kind of tits up, and we're still there because as much as he's at the door, we haven't replaced him, so we're back to relying on, or at least for outside looking in. And I think obviously with the Casper Schmeichel signing as well, it kind of points to it. We're back to relying on the manager for players, and look, as much as the manager should have the final say, and whether a player signs or no, whether he suits his style, fits the team, fits the squad, blah blah blah. But it shouldn't be the manager that's actually having to find the players and scout the players and do all the rest of it, which it seems to be how we've operated, barring that wee spell with Mark Global. But that seems to be how we've operated for the last 3-4 years now.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. And the recruitment conversation will drag on, obviously, until the end of the window. Some people in the comments saying we need to have a bit of patience, but I think when you're looking at the possibility of our first league game coming up here early August, just around the corner, literally after the American pre-season tour, and we haven't really done anything apart from the 2 goalkeepers. It's a bit of a situation. You're like, come on, Sally, you can do better and be a bit quicker. Do you know what I mean? And again, Franny and James will no doubt be speaking about the recruitment process long into this transfer window, right through until it ends, and hopefully Rodgers does get the targets and stuff. But we play Chelsea on Saturday. I think it's a 9 o'clock kickoff this time, so far easier for people to get, obviously, to watch it and stuff and stay up for that game. But as I wanted to let people know in the comments as well, our schedule as a podcast is still up in the air a wee bit, still pre-season. We're hoping to get 2 podcasts out a week next week, and then look towards back to 3 again when the season starts, the double pivot coming back, and the usual Monday and Friday stuff. But yeah, Chelsea up on Saturday. We'll hopefully be back on Monday to cover that and kind of talk about that post-match and stuff. But Franny and James, have you enjoyed this one?
That's been good, mate. Been good.
It's been insightful. I never knew that you and Franny had masturbates together, so I learned a lot tonight.
Well, you'll learn a lot when you see it happening in person. It's actually quite a sight to behold. But it's just 2 mates. We're just 2 mates who like to have masturbates. But look, everyone, until hopefully Monday next week. If not, we'll let you know when we'll be back on. But let's hope we get another positive result at the end of the American tour against Chelsea. And until then, stay well, keep safe. Hail, hail.